Welcome back to the Wizard Tower project. This is the Dark Crystal Summoning Room Part 1. Let's get started by prepping our tower piece. I have been extremely excited to do this tower. I have been thinking about it since I started this series. And like every other tower, I have a rough idea of how I want this to turn out. And I'm really just making things up as I go, trying different ways to achieve the look that I want. In most of my towers, I do a lot of testing off camera, and for this one, because the outside is going to have a lot of pieces that are sticking out, I'm thinking of sculpting with foam or maybe clay, so that's what I will be testing a lot of for this build. And if anyone has suggestions, please let me know in the comments if you have an idea of a material that would hold up to wear and tear. Otherwise, as usual, I'm just gonna wing it and see where it goes. Alright, the prep for the tower is complete, so I paid a visit to the dollar store and picked out a couple lights. I wanted purple. I saw this string of bats, then I also saw this tea light with these crystals. So I unboxed them all and took a look at the lights. The bats are nice, but I don't know how I can fit it into the piece. And then these two other tea lights are kind of the same, they're multicolored. But if I actually use these crystals for the tower, that might look quite nice, so I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think. So we'll do just one floor here, and then on the other side I will have a balcony overlooking the summoning circle. Welcome back to the Wizard Tower project. This is the Dark Crystal Summoning Room Part 2. And today I am going to get started by building our floor. Now the thickest piece of foam that I have is 1/2 inch, so I needed to cut out 3 of these. This is where we are going to cut out the hole for the tea light that will be in the pit that illuminates our crystal. I decided to go for the crystals that I got from the dollar store. I just glued 3 of them together and it'll light up with whatever kind of light we put in this base. So for now I just have this color changing tea light, but if I find one that is just one solid color, I can do that as well and just sort of switch it up to whatever works for our games. So here I am just sealing the cracks with some joint compound. I gave the side of this a little texture, and then I went ahead and sketched out the patterns on the floors and gave it a stone texture with a ball of aluminum foil, and then sealed everything with a coat of Mod Podge mixed with black paint. And now we wait for this to dry. I did fill in some of the gaps on the crystal with some hot glue. And again, here's how it looks on the tea light. Welcome back to the Wizard Tower project. This is the Dark Crystal Summoning Room Part 3. And today we will be painting our floors, starting with a base of brown on the side. And then we'll do a base of gray on the floors. I'm doing some texture testing with clay foam, so just ignore these pieces on the walls for now. I'm testing how they hold up to texture and paint, but these will not be on here permanently. Moving back to the floor, the next step is highlighting with lighter shades of the base colors. I also did a black wash on all of these surfaces. I just didn't film that. And once the wash is all dry, I go back with some more highlighting. For the floors, I want to add some color similar to the movie, but it won't have the exact same look because I didn't carve out the floor the same. So here it is so far. I put the light back in and added some cotton just to cover up the light. And next I will be painting up our favorite Skeksis, Chamberlain. And then we have our Emperor, who is already falling apart. He needs more essence of Gelfling. See you in the next part. Welcome back to the Wizard Tower project. This is the Dark Crystal Summoning Room Part 4. And today we are going to finish our sculpting of the inside. And for this, for the first time, we are going to try out some foam clay. Now, the stuff that I got was really fun to play with, but I also noticed that there is a lot more moisture in this clay than the stuff that I tested with. And I know that moisture and cardboard do not mix well, but I decided to go ahead and give it a try anyway, which ended up being a mistake. The moisture in this clay did warp the cardboard, but I was able to bend it back after it had dried by using a heat gun. So lesson learned again, I will be sealing my cardboard with Mod Podge. Another thing I noticed with this foam clay, that after it dried, the texture that I had given it with my sculpting tools and aluminum foil ball kind of went away a bit. I think the foam expanded as it dried, so the texture wasn't quite what I was going for, but I still made it work. Oh, and we found this little level, which is perfect for my floors because I always end up gluing them in crooked. And I decided to put in this slab of pink foam for the balcony instead of the clay foam because it is more sturdy. And I added some more details on top of that with the clay foam. And once everything is good and dry, I went in with some Mod Podge. And while I was doing that step, I also added it to the outside because I want to add clay foam again on the outside and I don't want this to warp. I did use my heat gun in between steps. It's been a really useful tool for drying the paint a lot faster so that I can get this project done. So here I am just putting on layers and layers of different shades of brown, trying to make it kind of similar to the movie. But this tower is definitely going to have a different look. It is just inspired by the Dark Crystal movie. And after wash and shading, this is what the inside looks like. And of course, my favorite Skeksis Chamberlain here for scale. He will get painted up before the final reveal, and this is what the crystal looks like on the light. This is the piece I will add in last because I need to suspend it with the chain, so next time we will sculpt the outside. Welcome back to the Wizard Tower project. This is the Dark Crystal Summoning Room Part 5. And today we are going to start adding pieces to the outside of our tower, starting with this balcony. So this balcony I decided to make out of the pink foam because structurally it will be a lot stronger than trying to use clay foam. So once I had that in place, I could start building some things out of my clay foam. So when I looked at the architecture for the Dark Crystal Tower, there really isn't a pattern. The only thing I noticed is that there's a lot of sharp edges and moons and bones and skulls, and it looks really alien. So I'm taking a lot of those elements that I saw in the tower that I liked, and I'm going to use those here. So I'm adding a lot of sharp points, teeth. I added a big crescent moon because there's one on the tower. I'm just adding a lot of different shapes and textures to this piece. And for reference, this is what the Dark Crystal Tower looks like. But mine is not going to look like that at all. I am trying to trust the process on this one. I know it looks weird, but I think that once I have everything on and painted, that this is going to look really cool and different. I'm using a lot of joint compound to fill the gaps because there's a lot of different textures in this build. I do want to kind of make it all work together still. So this is where I ended tonight, and I still have a couple things that I need to add before we paint the outside. So I'll see you all in the next part. Welcome back to the Wizard Tower project. This is the Dark Crystal Summoning Room Part 6. And today we are going to finish painting the outside of this tower. So I started by basing everything in black after I had sealed it with Mod Podge. And with the outside, we are going for a dark brown stone look, but I am using some different paint colors than I did on the inside, starting with a burnt umber base. And with this base coat, I did a heavy dry brush I wanted to leave some areas dark. And then I went in with dry brushes of yellow and orange for some more color. And then I did a heavy dry brush of everything again with a lighter brown. I used raw sienna. So now we have to lighten up the stone. I'm using a lighter shade of brown and I'm going to do a dry brush of that everywhere. And now this is getting closer to what I had in my vision. This is looking beautiful. And thank you to everyone that suggested using clay foam for the outside because this stuff is really sturdy. And lastly, for the outside, I did a highlight of an off-white, and I didn't think that this needed a wash, so I left it as is and added some green. For moss, I'll probably also add some flocking later on to finish the outside, and that's where we will leave it today. And here is Chamberlain and the Gartham for scale. Welcome back to the Dark Crystal Summoning Tower final reveal. Starting off, we are looking more closely at the details of the outside of the tower. I'm really happy how this had turned out in the end, with a mix of pink foam and clay foam. And same with the inside, it was also made with the pink foam and the clay foam. And then we have the floating crystal that is held down by chains, and I have a tea light underneath that is multicolored. Let's look a little bit closer at the miniatures, starting with Chamberlain, my favorite Skeksis. And here's a new one that you haven't seen. This is the Emperor, the second one I believe. Fresh off essence, there is no decay happening here. He is a healthy boy. I'm really happy with his paint job. Actually, I think I did better with him than I did Chamberlain. And of course, we have our guardians, our Gelfling snatching Gartham, the protectors of the Crystal Tower, and what gave me nightmares as a kid. And I also painted up 3 Magpies. These are D&D's version of a Skeksis, so these we will definitely be using in our games. These were really easy to paint. I did 3 different colors for easy identification when they are on the board. And that's it for the miniatures. I'm really happy with how my painting skill is progressing. I had a great time painting these. I hope you've enjoyed this build as much as I have. It's truly unique and different, and I can't wait to start on the next tower. I hope to see you all there. And thanks for watching!